welcome back to the channel, everybody. So here it is, Saturday, May 18th, right after 10 a.m. Temperature's about 75 degrees, humidity's just shy of 80%. We had some rain overnight and early morning, so it's humid and it feels like it. Let me do a quick recap with y'all and get you up to speed, and then I'll share what I'm about to get into today. So about 2 weeks ago, the weekend of May 4th and 5th, I pulled 175 pounds of honey from a few of the hives in this yard. That same weekend, I decided to take swarm number 8, which was over on the far side of the yard there, take their queen, cage her, mark her, and get her into a queen cage, and I installed her in hive number 9 that same weekend, I believe. And then I followed up on May 7th a few days later, and she was completely released. The interesting thing is, looking at the front entrance over the last week or so, the activity looks different in a positive way. So that's pretty much it for the yard. And then on May 10th, give or take, I had that shipment from Galena Farms show up via tractor trailer. Managed to get 25 boxes assembled that weekend, and then over the course of the next week managed to assemble maybe close to 500 deep frames. So if you've never done that before, it's something to experience, that's for sure. And that pretty much gets you caught up to today. So I've been out running around for about 30 minutes between the house and the yard, and I was able to move all the equipment over that I plan on replacing the current equipment with, and I'll show you that right now. There you go. I have a mountain of work to do today, but it's fine. I enjoy it. So let's go take a look at the yard, because this will be the last time y'all see the yard looking like this. And it's just due time. It's due time to get a few nukes, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? A few nukes out of nuke boxes into 10 frame equipment, which is a good time to do so, because these two for sure, especially 17, they are just working hard, and that's great. But the reason I say it's a good time to get them out of the nuke equipment is because we typically have around a month, maybe a month and a half left of the nectar flow. It usually takes us through mid-June to late June, early July. So my thought process is get the nukes out of the 5 frame equipment into some 10 frame equipment, and they can use the rest of the nectar flow season before I need to start feeding them in July or so. They can use the rest of the season to draw out wax on the new frames I'm about to give them. So I'm also going to use today just to take a quick look at the colonies as I transfer the frames from this equipment to the new equipment. Not really a full inspection, but it, you know, by default, moving each individual frame, so why not take the time just to glance at them, look at the brood health. If I find the queen, that's fantastic, or signs of the queen. But I'm not gonna really take the time to do a full inspection, because it's gonna take a minute to transfer all this equipment and then move all this equipment over to where I just showed you the new equipment is, and kind of figure out a way for it with that. So, all right, it's enough of me yapping. Let's get to it. I'm right on track with my usual intro time frame of 3.5 to 4 minutes. So let's get into the hives, enjoy a little break in the weather that we have this weekend, and show you here in a second what the yard's gonna transform into. One final thought. So if you didn't catch the previous videos, you may have heard me say that I was running out of equipment, which is a true statement. All but 5 frames, which I found 5 from somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, 5 deep frames, to where I only had 1 swarm trap with deep frames, and then the white trap here, if you didn't catch that video, that actually has medium frames in it. And coincidentally, I have not seen too much activity. Some activity, but not a lot. But the 1 swarm trap that I was able to get 5 deep frames in is over here by all the equipment, if you didn't see that earlier. And they have had activity on this trap almost since the day I hung it, which was maybe about 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna get them down into some equipment once I get the yard situated. But the point I'm trying to get to is, with the resupply of all the equipment to include the frames, I got all, well, minus these 2, I got the 4 other swarm traps hung and baited yesterday, and that couldn't have been any better timing with getting the resupply of equipment, because it's May, it's still swarm season all the way through June, July-ish, give or take. So we're looking forward to catching some more swarms, and we'll get them into equipment right away, since now that we have the ability to do so. And hey, where did all this equipment come from, right? Because that's a pretty large purchase. Big shout out to the Farmer Veterans Coalition. If you don't know about it, now you do. Actually, I'll put a link down in the description. So if you're active duty or if you're a veteran, check it out. Become a member, doesn't cost anything like most things in life. And every year they have a grant fund, and applying for it is not difficult at all. So I took the time back in February when I received the email, looked into it, filled out some information, and I was approved. No kidding, I was approved for the Kabuta grant portion of it. So shout out to Farmer Veterans Coalition again, and Kabuta for just being part of such an awesome opportunity, which allowed us to not only resupply a lot of equipment, but purchase some other equipment so we can sustain our way forward with this beekeeping business idea that we had many years ago. All right, folks, that's it. Long introduction, a lot of work to do. I'll show you the highlights, of course, and then I'll give you a shot at the very end when this yard's gonna be looking very beautiful. And I think to really finish things off, I'm gonna get the weed whacker out here and do some spring cleaning again. All right, smoker's lit, and it's time to get, I think this is swarm number 7. I marked it as Hive 16. But it's time to get them moved from this nuke box into some new equipment. And what I'm gonna do is pretty common whenever I transfer bees around. I'm just gonna leave the old equipment in front of the new equipment. And then if you've never done that before, over the course of a day or two, when you come back and check, the bees have all moved into their new home and they get situated pretty quickly. So it just takes a little time, that's all. But, oh yeah, this one's looking nice. And in fact, I think I gave them, yeah, if I checked the last video, I think I gave them a boost in population from swarm number 8 maybe. But yeah, they're looking pretty good. I'm just gonna let the video roll for now, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, this box dimensions are a little off. So this side over here is pretty fat. And there's the queen. I'm just gonna get her caged real quick, so we're not messing around trying to find her. And I already lost her. Oh, there she is. Alright, let's see. Alright, I always cage the queens, if you haven't watched my videos, more for safety purposes, meaning if you're moving frames around for inspections or transferring gear, you're not gonna run into any issues rolling her, damaging her, or anything like that because she's caged. But whoa, she has kicked it into overdrive. Man, that is awesome to see. And then I just scrape off any comb on the bottom. We don't have too many cold days coming our way to where the bees really have to cluster much. We have some days probably in the 50s or nights in the 50s, but as far as freezing temps and everything, not so much. And the reason I'm saying all that is because I'm gonna checkerboard a frame or two. But this time of year, it shouldn't cause any problems at all. Yeah, that nuke box dimensions are off just by a tad, which causes them to draw some comb on the bottom side. Oop, don't want to do that, but on the bottom side of the frames. But yeah, she's doing a nice job. All right, I'll show you what the new setup looks like. And there we go. So 2 new frames on the far right. Established frame, new frame with 3 or 4 frames, yeah, from the nuke box, and then 2 new frames. About to bang all these bees into there, and then like I said, just set the equipment right here in front of the hive location. And of course I'll slide that over because that's where they're oriented to, and it's close to hive number 1 there. So yeah, bang them in, move the number over, close them up, and that's it. And that's pretty much what I'll show, or what I'll do for the rest of the yard, and I'll show you anything worthwhile, of course. But yeah, it's just a process. It'll be done in a few hours, and the yard should look way different aesthetically, but that's what we've been going for a few years now. All right, just bang the rest of the bees from the nuke into the 10 frame. Let's get their queen released, which is something I always like to show y'all. And there she is. So I just need you to turn around, and there she goes. All right, so she's in there. And that's it. All right, let's see how this looks. The very first Hoover hive from Galena Farms in Cole's Farm bee yard. And that is a beautiful sight. All right, down here at number 1, and I don't really plan on showing y'all this much, but since this is the first hive getting into that I've pulled honey from, that's what I really wanted to show y'all. Mainly, we'll just start with the first frame. Mainly just to see if they have been replenishing it, which they have. If you can see the shiny substance, that's nectar. But what I was really curious to see, they have completely fixed all the comb, because I use that roller tool to uncap the cells when I harvest the honey, and it bangs it up pretty well. I mean, it uncaps all the cells, but yeah, no kidding, they are replenishing. Well, they've repaired the cells, and they're already replenishing it with nectar. Yeah, so I'm just going to move the top box over, get the deep frames moved over, and then move all the super frames into a medium box. That's it for this one. I'll show you anything worthwhile, of course, but yeah, like I said a few times, today's just transferring frames to new equipment. All right, number 1 still queen right, which is awesome. I was starting to get worried after the first few frames, but it looks like this queen just favors the left side of the box, and I've said this quite a few times. I think it's because the left side gets first sunlight, and it just might be warmer than the right side, but yeah, she's doing fine. Quite a few frames of nice capped brood from frame number 6 to maybe 9 or 10. But the first few frames, 1 through 4, a lot of eggs, a lot of larvae in the early stages that haven't been capped yet. So I think this hive's population between now and the end of the month, to include into early June a little bit, is about to explode. So that's nice to see. Number 1, queen right, doing good, in the process of expanding some. But yeah, big queen too, if this comes up on camera or not. If you can see her, she's got some size to her. Okay, let's get her released here in a second, get the super frames transferred, and that's it for number 1. Alright, same thing. Here we go. Oh yeah, she is one I do not want to lose. Alright, she's down in there. That's it. Get the supers moved over and move on to the next one. Alright, number 1. Welcome to your new home. So far we're doing pretty good. I'm down here at hive number 2. Hive number 2's queen wants to avoid me, which is not terribly uncommon. But yeah, same thing, right? Get her caged, get the frames moved over, and that's that. Pulling the super. That thing's got some weight to it, so I can't wait to see what those frames look like. All right, let's get her released. Oh, she was quick too. She's quick to get out of there. All right, there she goes. That's how it should be. Some of them like to hang out in the cage. All right, this is what I'm excited to show y'all, because this box is heavy. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I pulled this entire box 2 weeks ago. So that side, you know, they're filling that in. That looks nice. I'm just curious where the weight's coming from. That frame's got some nice weight to it. Same with this one. I'm guessing probably the center frames, which is where bees like to work from. Center on out. Yep. I may have left these frames too. I'm not 100% sure, but no kidding. That's at least one that's ready to pull. About 1.5. I think that's where the weight's coming from. Yeah, I'm thinking if those frames are right in the middle, I probably left them because half of a frame probably wasn't capped enough that I wanted to pull. But yeah, I'm just going to give them to the end of the month or into June and see what this looks like. But yeah, number 2's looking good. All right, number 2. Welcome to your new home. All right, this is number 11, which is one of the first swarms I caught. And if I remember correctly, well, that doesn't make sense. They don't have a queen excluder. So the last time I found the queen in the top box, so I just need to keep that in mind. In fact, I'm gonna grab a queen excluder and get her isolated to the bottom box, and then maybe there's enough time left in the season for the bees to produce some honey, which would be a first, catching a swarm and producing honey within the same year. All right, first interesting thing to share, very mature queen cell on, well, very mature capped, right? On frame number 2. So at this point, I'm just gonna keep an eye out for the queen. I'm gonna mark the top bar on this one. Keep an eye out for the queen, and if I find her, now that I have some equipment handy, might just end up making a split with this one, but that's all dependent if they still have a queen first. They may have swarmed. That might be the swarm over in the one swarm trap by the road, but that is all TBD at this point. Here's the very next frame, and this is exactly why I do not want to lose this queen. She is a beast. So again, we've got to find her first. She could also be in the top box, since bees like to move up and there wasn't a queen excluder on this hive for quite a while. All right, very next frame, and that's 2 capped mature queen cells that will probably hatch here in the next few days. So again, I gotta find her first, but that's 2 cells that I can leave behind and move the parent queen with a few frames if I'm able to find her. All right, very next frame. I don't know if you're seeing a trend yet, but that cell looks like it's about to hatch today. So good time to get into the hives. I just need to find this queen if she's still around. Man. All right, this is not a joke. This is the very next frame. So it's at least 4. I really hope they still have the queen in this box somewhere. I have 2 frames to go, and then I have the top box. She was marked, but I really hope she's still here, because I will be splitting this hive today, as long as they're queen right. If my memory serves me right, I found her in the top box last time, or that may have been another hive. But yeah, they are doing a nice job producing some And this is also completely without a queen excluder, which I've never done this before. And the only reason this hive didn't have a queen excluder is because they were the first swarm I caught, like I said earlier, and I just wanted to give the queen and the colony full reign of both boxes to draw out the frames, and they've done a nice job. Fourth frame in the top box, and they got a little bit of a queen cell going on too. So the first 3 frames, beautiful food frames. And the next frame looks like where the queen's been hanging out. It's got a little bit of brood, some purple-eyed drones, another pretty big queen cell. So they may have swarmed already with how close these queen cells are to hatching, but we'll see here in a second. All right, I'm gonna say number 11 has probably swarmed sometime in the last few weeks, which is fine. I'm also curious if the swarm that I have in a box has a marked queen, because I know they did. Just gonna give them some smoke to get them off the edges. I installed a queen excluder, and with that said, I'm gonna go back to that frame in the top box and tear out that queen cell. So then I know the next time I come out here, in probably 2 weeks towards the end of the month, those queen cells should have hatched. They'll be isolated to the bottom box. But yeah, I'm just gonna bang the rest of the bees in here, and then towards the end of the month, this top box is halfway full with honey. So they have a lot of nice frames to harvest, and they should be queen right by then. So I'll mark them with a brick like I usually do, but a few things to follow up on with number 11. All right, down here at 14, which as you can see is in a nuke. In fact, I added this shallow maybe 2 weeks ago because they needed some space. They've been doing great. This is another one of those early season swarms I caught. I believe I think it's a shallow. Actually, let's just take a look. If it's a medium, that's even better, but even if it's not a medium, yeah, those are shallow frames. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna grab a medium box, move these shallows in there with 5 other medium frames, and then just kind of figure out over the next few weeks. But there's no telling where the queen's at because there's no excluder. So let's just move the top box over, get into the bottom box, transfer the frames. If I find the queen, I'll cage her and show you that, and then figure out a plan for the top box. Like usual, should have just left the camera rolling, but yeah, this is why I don't want to lose this one. She's doing a fantastic job. And just like the previous swarm, I moved into some 10 frame equipment. I'm just gonna checkerboard a few of the frames. I believe the nectar flow is still going well enough to where they have plenty of resources to draw out the newer frames. Ton of larvae that hasn't been capped yet, but yeah, she's doing a nice job. Hopefully I find her, but no doubt she's still here. You can see eggs and everything. It's just a matter of finding her. There she is, hanging out in the top box. So I'm gonna do a few things with this colony. I'm gonna get her moved to the bottom box after I move this last shallow frame over. Find a few medium frames to fill in the empty spaces, and then just kind of figure out what to do with them moving forward. So since I have some extra queen excluders available to me now, let's get her moved down into the bottom box. There she goes. All right, perfect. And then yeah, I'm just gonna figure out what to do with the top box here in a second. All right, down here at number 12, which is one of a few, if not the only, that's in a single deep. And this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be the 6th colony I've transferred over into their new equipment. I decided I'm just gonna do 7 or 8 and then take a break. Got a few other things to do today, and then come back out here this afternoon, and as long as the weather cooperates, finish with the rest of the yard. So that's the goal. Get the entire yard moved over today like I've been doing so far. Just set the old equipment in front of the new equipment. So any bees that are hanging out in the old equipment will eventually move into the new stuff by the end of today, if not tomorrow. And that'll be it for this weekend. I believe this is the hive that I moved 4 frames or so down into from number 9 that had that laying worker situation. So I saw some eggs in the previous frame and some small larvae. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out to see if I can find the queen, because they were queen right. All I did was move some frames down here that needed to get out of number 9 to try and reduce the laying worker situation. So I will keep you all posted, and if I can't determine anything today, I might just turn into a next weekend project. Alright, stay tuned. Alright, I just went through number 12's frames twice. They have something going on. It looks like they're queen right, judging by the singular eggs and cells, and then the capped brood that looks like worker brood and not drone brood, but I cannot find the queen at all, and I am pretty confident she was marked. So they may have swarmed and they had an unmarked queen in there that I'm just not seeing today. But I say all that just to say I'm gonna mark them with a brick and just keep an eye on them over the next few weeks, because the last thing I want to deal with again this year is a laying worker situation, which very frustrating. All right, down here at 17, which is one of the late season swarms, or one of the more recent swarms I call it, and they've been doing great. They've had I think they've been in a double deep for quite a while, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second as I start transferring some frames, because they have a ton of bridge comb built out connecting the frames, which means they're just doing, oh yeah, this is when I ran out of deep frames. So I'm gonna leave them as is for now, and I'll definitely have to come back and replace that frame with a deep frame now that I have some equipment. So it should be a pretty straightforward, just transfer the frames over, 9 of which are deeps, and they'll be all set for a while. I actually have a medium box that contains majority new foundation, which I'm going to give to them because they could probably use the space, and if not, here in the near future, you can always remove that space, remove that box. Check this out. Look at that beautiful frame. I'm going to move this on, actually I'm going to put everything in place for now, going right to left. And I remember this colony because this was one of the very few frames I've given a colony that they've actually used it. So a foundationless frame, I just ran some fishing line between it, and they have almost completely drawn it out. I'm actually going to put this in the 10th position with that previous frame in the 9th position, and I'm going to fill in the gap with the frames from the bottom box. Check that out. Also, not exactly what I thought I'd be doing today, but I might, yeah. I'm going to end up marking them with a brick too, just because they don't necessarily seem to be queen right upon this first look. But they have a ton of bees, so I have no doubt they can use the extra space. And I'm going to slide a queen excluder on them anyway, just in case I overlooked her and she's in the bottom box. But yeah, I'm going to mark them because I'm not sure if they're queen right or not, and then get into them probably tomorrow. All right, back out here in the yard. It's about 2:45 for round number 2. So I'm down here to transfer the 8th hive into the new equipment, which is swarm number 4. So let's give them some smoke and see what we discover. So unlike the previous few hives that are marked with a brick, actually the last 3 out of 4, luckily number 4 here is queen right, and I don't have to mark this hive with a brick, but we'll see here in a second. Alright, I just looked ahead and saw the queen on this frame, so now it's just a matter of figuring out where she went. She's probably on this side. Let's see if we can find her. But yeah, they're looking good. A lot of nice brood, a lot of nice capped brood. She's around here somewhere. They like to play this game of hide and go seek with me. But yeah, no kidding, I looked over at the next frame as I was finishing up with the previous one, and I saw her, I swear. It's just a matter of finding her. Man, they are good. They are good at disappearing. And she may have crawled onto the next frame. I kind of doubt it. She's here, I swear. Where did she go? I feel like she's in one of these little cracks somewhere. Alright, well, if I end up finding her, I'll show you. That's what I was trying to do right now, but they are quick sometimes. She has a green dot, so should be easy to find. Man, clever little one, huh? Where is she? Golly. Alright, anyway, they're queen right. I know I saw her. So let's get them put back together and move on to the next one. I'll show you the top box real quick once I get to that point, because it has some really nice weight to it. There's a good chance I pulled the majority of this box about 2 weeks ago. And as you can see on that side of the frame, they've already filled it in. It's just a matter of capping it. Kind of the same thing on this frame. The other amazing thing is how quickly the bees repair the frames. So like I said earlier, yeah, look at that. I use that rolling tool on capper for the reason that it doesn't completely remove all the wax, but it uncaps the cells enough to harvest, and the bees are able to repair the cells in practically no time. But yeah, this is looking nice. So hive number 4, I might be able to get some more honey out of them towards the end of the month. All right, down here at number 5, again, they have a pretty heavy top box. Wow, check out that queen's performance. All right. Yeah, this hive seems to have a ton of bees in it, which is just fine. I'm just gonna go through, same thing all day today, just transferring frames from the old equipment to the new. And if I can find the queen, that would be awesome, but if I don't find her, and there's enough signs that they are queen right, I will be just satisfied with that. So first few frames typically aren't the best to determine that. As you get towards the center, we should see kind of nicer brood patterns. And of course I'll be checking for eggs. If I find some day-old eggs, I'd say they still have a queen. A lot of nice larvae that should be capped in the next few days, but I'll get out my flashlight here in a second and just take a closer look for eggs once I find some more open cells. Just finishing things up with moving some of the frames over in the top box, and this is a nice looking frame, probably be capped by the end of the month. But yeah, this hive has a ton of bees, if you can't tell. Gets a little chaotic, which is also why I tucked my jacket into my pants. I've never done that before, but after a few bees crawling up my jacket this morning, that got old real quick, so that's my preventative measure. All right, Down here at 15, which is the second to last nuke. And they are in a deep with a shallow. So just like the previous one, it's got some weight to it too. I'll get to those frames last, but as you can probably see, I'll checkerboard the deep frames with some new frames, and then with the shallow frames, I'll move them into a medium box with 5 medium frames, and really just see kind of what the bees do. Yeah, this queen's awesome. There are eggs in every single cell, some developing pupa. So let's get them checkerboarded, moved over. Hopefully I can find a queen. I haven't really found a queen, and I've been able to cage one in quite a few colonies now. It's not the end of the world, especially if you can tell with their queen right, but this queen's been doing a fantastic job for quite a while. So I have no doubts they will use the extra space provided, and with the rest of the nectar flow that we have, which is probably another month or so, they should be able to draw out some wax on these new frames. I don't think I've said this. I'm also curious how well the bees draw out wax on the Galena Farms foundation. It's pretty nicely waxed. I don't know if it's single, double, or triple coated, but it has a nice amount of wax on there. So time will tell. But yeah, she's doing a fantastic job. Be nice to see her. But yeah, anyway. Okay. This one's looking pretty nice, just like last time. Alright, down here at number 6, I had a brickle nem placed upright to indicate they had some frames in the super that were probably going to be ready in a few weeks. They just weren't ready last time. And that top box is heavy, so I'm very curious to see what that looks like when I get to that point. But for now, we're just going to transfer the deep frames on over and finish up with the medium box. And I'll show you anything, of course, but good lord, that box was heavy and stuck, like glued to the queen excluder. We got a few frames coming up. I think these were the center frames, yeah, that I left in here. Yeah, that's frame number what, 4? Yeah, 4. It's frame 5 right in the middle. You got a little work to do. Frame 6 looks pretty good. So far that's about, that frame's falling apart. 1, 2, maybe 3 frames. Say 4 frames in the next few weeks, end of the month. Five frames. Yeah, they got about 6 frames that are ready to go, so that's pretty cool. That might be about 20 pounds, give or take. So I'll get them at the end of the month. All right, down here at number 8, the same thing as the previous hive, just pulled the super off. This hive seems to have a ton of bees as well, which is a good thing, but I'm just slowly running out of gas today, as you can imagine. It's a lot. Go through every single box, every single frame. Quick inspections like I've been trying to show y'all, but just moving all of these frames from the old equipment to the new equipment, grabbing some new equipment each time to replace the old stuff. And given today's weather, which honestly the temperature's not terrible, but it is pretty darn humid. Oh yeah, this queen's doing awesome too. I know you can't tell, but a lot of that new wax towards the top of that frame contained eggs, or new wax, new cells. Yeah, she's doing a nice job. They have a lot of bees now, and they're gonna have a lot more bees here in the next few weeks. All right, almost done. 1, 2, 4 more hives to go after this one. Holy, it's been a while since I've found the queen. She's from last year too, and still doing a nice job. All right, I can move a little more comfortably now since she's caged. I'll tell you this much, I haven't seen this much commotion in the yard in a long time. All right, let's get her released. Come on now, wrong way. You can do it. There you go. And there she goes. All right, on to what I was doing. Yeah, just finishing up moving a few of the top box frames over, and they should be ready to be pulled at the end of the month. Ton of bees. Ton of bees. All right, down here at 8. Same exact thing. They seem to be a little more tame than the previous ones, but I'll get them transferred, and I think it's about time to take a short break, get something to drink, and then finish up with the last 3 once I'm done with this one. The super had some decent weight to it, so we'll see what that looks like here soon enough. But yeah, just rinse and repeat until everything's transferred into the new equipment. Yeah, 8's got a few nice frames in the top box, just like the rest of the colonies. I'm going to give them until the end of the month or into June. I have enough work cut out for me right now to bottle. The honey we pulled about 2 weeks ago. I think our bottles and labels should be here next week, so I'll have some available over Memorial Day. We've got about 12 or 15 people on our wait list, so they'll be contacted first, and then we'll update social media, Google Maps, and the Square site, of course. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. All right, finally made it down to number 9, which is a massive colony, but I'm just going to take the top boxes off first. And what I am very curious about with this colony is getting into the bottom box, mainly to see if the marked queen is still there and started laying eggs, which that was about just over 10 days ago. Oh, that is heavy. Yeah, about just, I think this is the 11th day, so she should be well established. And like I said in the intro, the front entrance activity of this colony has changed positively. So yeah, I'm really going to be keeping an eye out for the marked queen that I used from swarm number 8, which is also the first time I've ever done that. First time I've ever used a swarm queen off a very recent swarm catcher to make or get a established colony queen right. I'm starting to get worried for a little bit, but yeah, there she is. Outside of the very last frame, meaning the part that's right up against the hive body. Yeah, I'm not gonna cage her. I'm just gonna put that frame in there. Put this next frame gently on down next to it. Bang some bees in, get the queen cage on, and then check out the top 2 medium boxes, and then get them configured right. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Queen right, awesome. Doing a nice job too. That's what I'm talking about. Very first frame of the bottom medium box, and the next frame looks pretty nice too. That's coming along. Probably got some brood still trying to hatch out, but yeah, there should be a few frames out of this box that are worth pulling towards the end of the month. But yeah, I'm just happy they're queen right, and it looks like I resolved that laying worker situation by taking a swarm queen, caging her, letting the bees release her in the matter of a day or two, and they accepted her and she's doing just fine. All right, here it is, just shy of 5 o'clock, smoking myself heavily to get these bees away from me, and I'll show you why here in a second. So I took a break from moving frames from the old equipment to the new equipment to do some cleanup and get the yard a little more organized. And this is what we're looking at. I think I'm gonna hold on to the supers. I'll clean them up and maybe paint them all white or something. But I'm thinking, as far as the deeps go, I'll probably list all the red ones for sale, 10 bucks a box. But let's check out the yard real quick, and I'll show you why, of course, why I am smoking myself. So if you can't tell from the bees attacking the camera and all of the commotion, it is chaotic out here. So I have 2 hives to go. I'm about to finish that up here in a second. This has been an all-day affair as expected, which also means I will get into the swarm by the street here in the yellow trap tomorrow. So I think I'm pretty good for cleanup for now, minus the bottom boards. I'll bang the bees off of them right in front of their respective colonies. Finish up with the last 2 colonies as far as transferring the frames into the new equipment. Clean that up, of course, just like what I had showed you, and call it a day. And I'll be out here tomorrow just to wrap a few things up, but I will share that with y'all, of course. And tomorrow the weather should be a little nicer. It's been overcast with a few little showers today, which is probably why the bees are so agitated, but I wanted to get this done this weekend, so I knew the risk associated with getting into the hives when the weather's like this. And if you can't tell from the bees attacking the camera right now, which I don't think that's happened in a good while, that's my experience with the colonies with weather like this in the past. But again, I wanted to get this done today, so here I am. 2 more to go, and that'll be it. Tomorrow, like I was trying to say earlier or a few seconds ago, the weather should be a lot better, and then I'll show you what that looks like, which in the next 12 to 18 hours the colony should be a lot more calm and settled down. I think they're just a little disturbed today because I've completely shaken things up for them, but it's okay. They'll be just fine by tomorrow afternoon. All right, down here number 10. This is the last 10 frame I have currently. Their population actually looks a lot better than it has, so curious to see what that looks like as we go through. But same as all the others, transferring frames, taking a brief look, if you want to call that an inspection or not. If they have signs they're queen right, fantastic. If I find the queen, you know, icing on the cake. But I'll show you anything worthwhile. I don't know if you can tell or not by my voice. Actually, if you can see that, I forget which angle I need to do for the GoPro. A ton of larvae that should be capped in the next day or 2. What I was going to say is, you can't tell from my voice, I am tired. But anyway, this one and one more little cleanup, and that's it for me. All right, if you can believe it or not, I'm down here at hive number 13, which I believe is the 3rd swarm I caught this season. So drum roll please. We have finally made it to the very last colony to get into today, to get transferred over. And full disclosure, I have not been in this colony in a long time. So I am very curious to see what they've been up to. I believe I gave them a frame or two that just had some fishing line ran through it, so a foundationless frame. But yeah, no kidding. Let's see what they've been doing. All right, if I find anything interesting to share, I'll show y'all, of course. We'll wrap things up before I head out of here. And then, like I said earlier, I'll probably be out here tomorrow. Let's see if she's still here. Hope so. I was just cleaning up and saw a queen with a green dot on the bottom board. Ah, damn. Let's see. She's here somewhere. There she is. God bless. So, that was a good save. Man, she came from number 10. All right, I'll get her released here in a second. I think they have some queen cells, swarm cells at the bottom of one of the frames, so I'm gonna have to get back into them and tear them down. But I'm glad I banged, if you didn't see it, as I finished up, I banged the bottom, or I'm sorry, I banged the deep body, the deep box, onto the bottom board as I was moving the old equipment over to where I'm staging it. And I'm glad I did that as I'm coming back through. All right, just finished up going back through 9. I found number 9's queen on the very last frame. This is the last thing I wanted to do, but I also wanted to be 100% certain the queen I found on that bottom board came from number 10, which she did. So I'm just gonna get her released, open up number 10 again, release her, and that's it for today. I did not think I was gonna have to go back through 2 colonies, but I also did not think I was gonna find a queen crawling around on a bottom board. But I'm glad I did, and the reason I think I saw her so easily is because she was marked. So mark your queens, folks. All right, let's get her back where she belongs, and there she goes. All right, that's it for me, folks. It's just shy of 6 o'clock, and I am whooped. I am soaking wet, I am tired. I have not had a whole lot of water today, which is not a good thing, so learn from me and stay hydrated. Haven't had any close calls. I'm just tired, really. But I'll be out here tomorrow to do a few things. This hive, vertical brick, that means it has quite a few frames worth pulling. And then these bricks here, 1, 2, and I thought there was one more. I'll have to double check the footage at some point, but at least these 2 I need to keep an eye on and see if they're queen right or not. As promised, here it is the following day. So it's Sunday, May 19th, right at 1 o'clock. Temperature's about 66 degrees, humidity's about 80%. It feels a lot better than yesterday, and we've received about 1.5 inches of rain overnight. I'll give you a quick look and drive by at the hives here in a second. But what I'm really out here to do is finally get into the yellow swarm trap. I think I showed y'all that yesterday, which is swarm number 9. There you go, got the ladder set up, and for the first time ever, I'm gonna be using a Pro Nuke to move the 5 deep frames from the swarm trap down into the nuke box. So I'm gonna take the opportunity to look at each frame. If I can find the queen, I'll cage her, get her marked, and then release her, of course. But then it also gives me an opportunity to look at the frames specifically to see how the brood pattern is looking, because that swarm has been in there for probably the better part of maybe 2 weeks at this point. Not 100% sure, but I did not capture them recently. They've been established for a good bit. So let's take a look at the yard, take a look at the hives, or at least the entrance activity, and then get into swarm number 9 and see what they're looking like. All right, down here on the far right side of the yard, and I'm just gonna do a quick panning. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. Beautiful products from Hoover Hives, which is provided by Galena Farms. This is exactly what I wanted the yard to look like. All right, let's take a first look at swarm number 9. All right, maybe 2 frames of bees. It's always interesting, at least to me, to see how many bees are out in the field foraging. I'm not sure if this is coming up on camera or not, but I just moved the swarm trap down 3 minutes ago, And it is so cool to see how many bees are actually out looking for food. But yeah, I'll get that back up there here in a second. All right, let's get in to swarm number 9. Looks like they have maybe a modest 2 frames of bees, maybe. Got the queen cage at the ready. Get my hive tool. I'm gonna start on, this is the frame that's closest to the entrance, just because it doesn't seem like it has a lot of activity. Some bees. And like I said yesterday, I'm always curious if I catch a marked queen, especially after going through my colonies and determining some might be queenless, and then knowing I have a swarm and a trap, I'm just always curious if there's a marked queen in the swarm, and if so, I mean, there's no telling if it's mine, right? But there's a good chance, I guess. Right there, all the bees just hanging out. Let's get them bumped over. And if she's marked, she should stand out. So far, no sign of a marked queen, but 2 more frames to go. Oh, okay. Yeah, kind of thought they'd have some comb drawn out, considering they've been in this trap for a little bit. Yeah, just taking my time. These weren't the best frames, but when I put these frames in this trap, I was just really making do with every resource I had available to me. Alright, this frame definitely looks the best, so let's take a look. They are super gentle. I'm just trying to see if she started to lay. It's really hard to tell if you can't tell or not. Oh yeah, she's laying. Okay, so right there in the center, that very, very light wax, it's hard to tell, but over here, yeah, she's been, that darker comb, she's been laying long enough for that pupa to be pretty old. And there she is. I'm gonna turn this around because I don't think this has any foundation. Yeah, there she is right there. Not what I was expecting. She has a red dot on her. So that's pretty cool. All right, let me get everything boxed up and get this pro nuke back on top of the ladder. Alright, that does it for me today. Getting into swarm traps and getting the frames moved over into some equipment really doesn't take a lot of work, if y'all didn't know, but I'll show you what I'm looking at here in a second. And there you go, Pro Nuke. Already a fan. Very lightweight, very usable. Both sides are exactly the same, so they're vented. There's some vents underneath here as well. I think you can see that. And then you just open up whatever side you want to use. So just like that, all those foraging bees have already found the new entrance. So I'll just leave it here until tomorrow, and then just start inching it a few feet at a time, just like the previous videos, from the tree over into the bee yard. Again, that does it for me, folks. Swarm number 9 in nuke box. I'm gonna move over to the yard by next week, by next Friday maybe, and then transfer them over into some equipment. All right, hey, thanks for watching. All right, here it is, Saturday, May 18th, about 9:30 in the morning. We had some rain this morning, so temperature's in the mid to high 70s, humidity's pretty high. But yeah, here we go, round 1 with hauling all the new equipment out to the yard.